to the question in the chat. Greetings, Rahubat caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's your question, please?
My name is Karis Muir from Jamaica.
Greetings, Rahubat. How you doing today?
I'm fine. Okay, so my question is, we all heard that the Anunnaki took hominids and manipulated their DNA to create modern humans. Well, first they created a worker, and then they upped the DNA more and more until it became what we have now as modern humans. But when I was listening to this other channel on YouTube called Area 52, they had a video talking about the beings known as the Elohim coming here and manipulating the DNA of the hominids that were here to create modern humans as well. So is there any truth to this? Did the Elohim do this in the same way that the Anunnaki did?
It's the same beings that are being referred to as the Elohim. It's just different terms that are being used to describe different beings. So in the Bible, this is why it's important to get tools that can give you the Hebrew and give you, like, depending on which book you're reading, what language is being translated from. Remember, the Bible is a basically plagiarized version from the Anunnaki tablets. Okay, so they're writing about the same beings, but they're just using different terms. So this is one of the things that in the Bible, when you're reading through it, you're getting different names, like, you know, Elohim, El Shaddai, you know, they're different names, Yahweh, Baal, but these are different names describing the same Anunnaki beings. The term Anunnaki just means the beings that came to Earth or who were sent down to Earth in groups of 50. And in the Bible, they just...
The reason why I would believe that the Anunnaki and the Elohim aren't the same beings is because I read or heard that among the Anunnaki, there were these beings referred to as the Igigi, and they were workers, and they used their Gigi at first to mine gold. But the Igigi got tired and rebelled because they couldn't manage the work. So that's when they decided to stop making the Igigi do all the work, and they created the first humans to do the work.
You're telling me what...
I found it hard to believe that the angelic beings in what was referred to as the heavens had beings like the Igigi among them.
Brother, what you're doing, you're asking me a question, and then you're telling me what you believe based on other information you've heard from other sources. And I'm saying to you...
Yes, because I'm just trying to clarify.
Right, and I'm telling you that even when you said the Igigi, they're the Igigi, right? They're called the Igigi, and the term Igigi is referring to those who stayed up, right? They didn't come down. And what you're saying about the beings they created were the Amilu or Lulu Amilu. Those are the ones that they refer to as primitive worker. But what I'm saying to you is that these different names you're using, like Anunnaki, they're different beings referred to by different names. And then the Bible and other books like the Quran, they're talking about the same people. So Enlil and Enki, for example, in the Bible become Baal and Yahweh. But if you don't know that, you're just thinking these are different beings. And when you say angels, angels are a misinterpretation for these same beings. But then you have other beings from different places, other star constellations too, that came to this planet. And they also started to create various different hybrids. Different species of beings came here. In fact, at one stage, they were all like doing it to compete and to show who can create the best beings, and they will parade them and showcase them, right? And this is where in the Bible you have incidences where you have beings with like more than the normal toes, hands, where you start to see some of the beings that got mixed with different like animals that, like you said, you get all these centaurs, you got like, you know, they show you certain beings, like even the being that's referred to as the goat of Mendes. They're always showing you these hybrid beings, and some of them were so hideous. That's why in certain parts of the Bible they tell you that you couldn't see them, or you had to communicate them from a veil or behind a bush or something because they didn't want to be seen. But then in other instances, someone is able to speak and speak to these beings, or these beings are walking and talking in the garden. So I'm saying to you, if you think about the Bible stories have come from the Anunnaki Sumerian stories, then you see how you're talking about the same beings. Like I gave you Enlil and Enki, who are also known as Yahweh and Baal, and they're known as Nun-Numnir and Nudimud. They're known by many, many names, but it's the same Anunnaki beings with different like natures, agreeable and disagreeable ones. You see, so I'm saying we teach Wu-Sabat. We have in fact, we were teaching about the Anunnaki and breaking down this information way, way, way before these new people that are popping up today on YouTube and everywhere talking about Anunnaki. We were the ones that were, other than Zechariah Sitchin at the time, not many people were talking about the Anunnaki apart from Parnababi Anun, who wrote countless books breaking down everything to do with the Anunnaki. So people today are talking about it, but go back and read, you know, the scrolls he put out back in the 60s, 70s and 80s. You see, so yeah, you can now, today, everybody is an expert on talking about the Anunnaki because, you know, other people have picked it up that have just, they're really Johnny just come lately. But you don't have to, you know, people are free to go and listen and to everyone else or anyone else out there. But we know that when we hear the information, we can hear when it's misinformation or, you know, just wrong information. So I'm telling you that the Igigi were the ones that stayed above. They stayed and didn't come down. The Lulu Amilu were the primitive worker, but they created many, many versions before they perfected the being, because they were trying to get a being that could actually use tools and do the work, and so that they can basically mine the gold. But in any case, I'm still trying to follow. What's your question? Because if you're saying you want to be clear on if the difference between the Elohim and the Anunnaki and the Igigi, which, you know, Billy Carson said the Igigi, and this is where people are also picking that term from, because we did a reaction video one time where we heard him say that, and obviously he's also a Johnny come lately talking about the Anunnaki stories in comparison to, you know, the master teacher teaching about Anunnaki from 50 years ago. So I don't know.
Well, you
Does that
answered
answer
my
your question?
Because you clarified that the Elohim and the Anunnaki are the same being. So I get the idea now that the early hominids, they had their DNA manipulated by the same being, the Elohim or Anunnaki. I get it.
Tua. But I'm saying when you're reading the Bible, you may not see it if you don't go to the language. Like, for example, as I said, yeah, let me just see if I can pull up a Bible, and I can show you. So, do you use any Bible tools? Like I use Blue Letter
I use
Bible.
my AI to read scriptures.
Pardon me?
I use my on my phone to read scriptures.
Right, but if you use the King James Version, for example, and you click on the tools, if you use the Blue Letter Bible and they use the King James Version, but you can select different versions, but the most popular one is the King James. So if you start from, say, Genesis, right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to go to Genesis 1. Genesis 1. But yeah, honestly, a lot of people are just catching up and they're caught up on these books. But we in Wu-Sabat, we've evolved and moved away from them, but we still answer questions just for the sake of bringing people up. But in Genesis 1:1, the first time you come across the word God, it says, in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. If you click on the tools, yeah, if you go to Genesis 1:1, yeah, and you click on the tools, it shows you and gives you the Hebrew, right? If you look at
Yes.
the Strong's number is H430. And the word that is being used for God, as you said, is Elohim. Yeah? Now, if you
Yes.
did a word, just search at the top for the word God, and then just you start to see when we go to, let's jump to say Genesis 3, because there are different places in Genesis, but if I go to, I'm trying to go to Genesis 3. Okay, Genesis, here we go. Genesis 3:1, yeah? You got, again, I'll read it. It says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord God, right? So click on the tools, and you go to where it says the Lord God. You see the word there, right? The Strong's number, I'll give you that as well, is H3068. And it says Lord, yeah, Lord God, and that is Jehovah. But if you're looking at the Hebrew, it says Jehovah. Yeah, this becomes Jehovah because there are no J's or V. So people say Jehovah, but you can literally see it. It says Jehovah. And then if you kept going, trying to find more instances where you can see. Right, let's just jump. I'm just scrolling through to get to, there's so many different. Okay, let's go to Genesis 5. It lists a whole list of where the word God is being used, and you start to see that each one is not always Elohim. So I'm basically showing you that there are different words that are being translated into the English as Elohim. But when you start to look at this word and study Hebrew, the Yod and the Mim, this is where you get the Im from, right? So the plural is when you add the IM, but the singular is Elo. And if you look at the hierarchy, you have El, Elo, or Elo, and then you have Elohim. And this is showing you that this is the one that's over these. But depending on which book you're looking at, in the Greek, it's going to go and talk about, it will use different words. Adonai, it's going to use Christos. So it's about knowing the language and knowing who's speaking and where those books are coming from. Did you have any other questions?
Yes, one more question.
Go ahead.
So when I listen to Wu-Sabat, I've heard this argument that when a 9-ether being mixes with a being that is 6-ether, they lose their vibration or their soul or something like that. So is it necessarily true that when they say mix, they mean if a 9-ether being has sex with a 6-ether being, they lose their soul or vibration? Does it necessarily work that way for real?
Okay, again, the terminology needs to be cleared up. vibration, everything vibrates, yeah? You have higher vibrations and you have lower vibrations. If you mix downwards, you're reducing and coming down or lower. Like, it's like I gave an example in the past where if you dilute juice, the more water you put into it, the weaker it gets in terms of coming from its original, potency. It's the same way when you're dealing with genetics, where you can literally see if you have a really dark 9 ether or Nagaru, okay, being, or we say Negroid, the word Nagar Nadu in Wu-Sabat is dealing with the Negroid. That being is the strongest genetically. If they mix with a 6 ether being who is less genetically, not because of we saying so, but because of science in every form dealing with, when you start to look at what you're composed of, like from the top of your head all the way to your toes, you're composed of melanin, right? Proteins, etc., etc. The potency in hair texture from 9 ether to 6 ether, right? The 6 ether is weaker than the 9 ether. So if those two people mix, so you have let's say a Caucasian mixing with a Nagaru, the offspring is going to come out. It's not going to be as the Nagaru. So when we're talking about, you're lowering your vibration, the offspring, so if the offspring comes out and now that offspring mixes with, let's say, another Caucasian, you're going to see that you're going from very dark to very light. And Michael Jackson is a good example to demonstrate this. When you saw him, when he first came on the scene with the Jackson 5, he had what we call natural, but people call Afro hair. He had big nose, big lips, dark. And as he transitioned and then became the last part of his life, you saw that he went from basically being dark to light, from the texture of hair he had to straight fur. So you can literally see it. This is something anybody can go and study. So what we're saying is that genetically, if you want to maintain stronger genetics, you shouldn't be watering down your genes. Right? Now, in
Wait,
terms of
so
the soul and we're talking about the energy, we're dealing with the energy centers, which most people refer to as the chakras. So the person that is on the lower vibration is going to gain more from the mixing with the person on the higher vibration, and the other way around too. So if you are going downwards, you're going to lose, and the person, because it's give and take. There's energy exchanges, so it's give and take. But we're not saying that at the end of the day, people can mix with who they want. But if we're dealing with what is scientifically correct in terms of maintaining the genetic link, then yes, that's something that is better for 9 ether or Nagarus to mix with Nagaru and so on. Does that answer your question?
So we're making everything clear. So it's the child that is born from the union of a 9 ether being and a 6 ether being that will have a lower vibration or energy, but the person who has sex with a 6 ether being will lose their energy as well.
You're not losing it. What I'm saying is you're reducing, because, like I said, it's like you're watering down your genes, but the child still has the genes from you, which are still going to be dominant. If you're black or Nagaru, right? You're still going to have those genes as well, which are still going to be dominant to the mix that comes from, say, the mother that is a lesser ether being. But you're still taking from the father's genetics as well, which is still always going to be dominant.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to read more on this, you know, you can read, there's a scroll we've got, right, called The Melaninite Children. We have another one called The Lotus of Life on the Sacred Feminine, yeah, by Parna Babyanun. These go into, even The Man from Planet Risk. I mean, if you want, okay, let me see if I can just, if anybody else calls, we can stop. But let me just read you something from The Man from Planet Risk, which actually deals with what you're talking about in terms of energy. Yeah. Okay, so if you read from page 4, right? Because this talks about genetics. It literally says, the question is, what is genetics? Genetics is the branch of biology that deals with heredity. The word genetics is a combining form meaning pertaining to genesis or generations. Genesis itself means the origination of a thing or bringing about to a new or the formation. The word genetics consists of the prefix gen, meaning something produced, or gene, meaning an agent transmitted from parent to offspring. And the suffix ethics means pertaining to the nature or of a thing. The genes themselves are complex chemical packets that are a part of the large deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA, molecules found in the nuclei of cells. By influencing the interactions of the cells, the genes direct the formation of tissues that are formed to build the different organs and structure of the body in general. DNA molecules contain the code for the production of chemicals known as enzymes. The genes, as active parts of DNA molecules, contain the code for the reproduction for various substances the cell needs if they are to live and grow. Thus, by controlling enzymes and by somehow influencing the interactions of the cells, the genes direct the formation of tissues that are formed to build the different organs and structure of the body. Genes are responsible for almost all the features that make you look different from anybody else. The composition of your body organs are governed by your gene structure, hair, skin, eye, color, blood type, and intelligence. In the nucleus of every cell in your body, there are at least 1 million genes. Altogether, they do much to decide what you will look like and how you will think. It is in the 4th generation of animals and plants that the recessive traits show up. You have genes that govern traits called alleles. The trait that manifests itself is called dominant. The trait that hides or makes itself is called recessive. And then it goes on to explain about the Austrian, who is a monk named Gregor Johann Mendel, right, who is the father of genetics, right, in the European world anyway. Investigation of heredity laid the foundation for the science of genetics. Mendel's law on genetics was based on dominant and recessive genes that reappear throughout the generations and offspring. So the question is, what does this mean? This means you are a subtotal of your experiences, meaning whatever you take in, whatever you are exposed to, whatever afflicts you physically, helps to make your personality, which can become a part of your DNA and your genetic coding. It doesn't matter if the father or the mother has the physical affliction, it can be passed on to the child, much like any other disease, such as diabetes, arthritis, sickle cell anemia, cancer, or mental instability or physical disabilities. muscular dystrophy, or multiple sclerosis. These examples are understood to be inherited traits from your genetics. But what about those things that are from external influence? For instance, if a football player breaks his leg, the break can become a part of his genetics. Then if he has a child by someone, that trait can be passed on to that child and become a part of the child's genetics. So even though the child will not be born with a broken leg, the child's leg will be weak in that spot. That is why it is very important that you watch what you ingest while carrying a child in the womb. This just doesn't apply to food, which would cause physical defects if the diet is poor, but what is also ingested mentally, right, which give thought forms to the child that affect the way he thinks and feels, and of course your emotional state. Yeah, once the child is 3 to 4 months, he can hear outside influences as well and is affected not only by the sounds she may hear, but also the vibrations can be disturbing to the unborn child. Yeah. So, I mean, you can go on and on because this is as explained about what I was saying about the dominant and recessive genes, and it's no secret now that the body, the human body, has been studied extensively with the Human Genome Project, which was about deciphering the genes. They know about your 24,000 genes that make you up, so they can literally tell you what will happen with mixtures and different, mixtures with different people. All right.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's go back to the questions. Okay, so I was answering Marcia's question. I have daily communications with my ancestors. What is your meaning about those spirits who are guiding us, learning us so much about, I think that's meant to be life, but you say live. And then you got question Obia. Yeah, the question is not very clear, but in terms of communication, we got another call. Okay, we got another live call, so let's go to that. Rahubat, greetings, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from, and what's your question, please?
Hello.
Greetings.
Hi, I'm from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, in the United States of America.
Sorry, I can't hear you very well. Say that again.
I said I'm calling from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
You're calling from Pennsylvania.
Yes, in the
Okay.
U.S.
Yeah. All right. I hear you. Go ahead.
My I'm new at this. I know I'm chosen. I know it. I knew it for a long time. I'm separated from my family. I was pulled from my family. So that I can focus on me becoming who I'm supposed to be. I've stumbled upon you guys, and I'm so blessed to be stumbled upon you guys. I'm trying to find my way. I'm a little confused because a lot of people I've been watching, they be talking about you have to be Nubian and dark skinned and things of that nature. My mother is white, and I don't know who my father is. I never see my mother either. I was raised by other people. I don't know who I am, and I'm trying to find out who am I.
Well, that's a great question. This is what Wu-Sabat is here to do, to help you. And when you say, who am I? That question in itself is a part of the answer. Meaning the word who is spelled H-U, even though we spell it in English as W-H-O, but phonetically, it's more about the sound and the tone. When you say who, right, you're literally talking about an ancient Egyptian being that is responsible for creative will, right? So
Right.
your real being, internal being, not your physical being, because when we're talking about mixtures and genetics, that's dealing with the physical aspect of you. But you have other parts of you. That's why when you say, who am I, or myself, there's a separation. The word self, S-E-L-L-F, is separating, because that's dealing with the real you, or the being within you. So when you focus and deal with the divine aspect of you, you're dealing with the energy part of you, which goes all the way back to the beginning of creation, right? And so it's more about getting to know yourself, getting to know who you really are, not the physical bacteria that we call the skin suit, right? You got to get to know about your real essence. And that's where Wu-Sabat comes in, because it will teach you about your beginning and what you should be doing now and where you should be going. So a lot of the times the divisions come by people separating based on religion and not, or based on skin color and certain things. But as you learn to recognize that you are what they're calling a god or a goddess, and we're not saying this, all the books tell you that, even the Bible tells you that, yeah, that you are a god. But the word God has been misinterpreted in so many ways, because you're separated from what they say God is, and say God is somewhere away from you in heaven, and you don't really have any proof or any like ability to confirm that. But we know that you are God, because you have the essence of what God is, the real essence, which is God is not a thing or a person, like it's in one place. As you go into the higher breakdowns of what we're calling God, you see. So you should start with learning the basic information about who God is and who God is not, and then that will start to get you to know more about yourself and the divine in you.
I've been meditating, learning how to meditate. I'm trying to learn. I'm learning that. I'm picking up as much as information I can in the right way. I'm starting to feel a difference in myself. The way I eat, I don't like meat anymore. It's just changing me. Like, and I just started this 2 weeks ago. It's like things are changing within myself because I want it so badly.
Right, I would say start reading the scrolls by the master teacher, right? We have the links for the websites and where you can get the scrolls, because that becomes
Okay.
your personal journey. So there is one in particular there's one in particular called, is God male or female? Okay. And the Lotus of Life by Parna Babyanun, who is the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York. If you can just start, it doesn't really matter which scroll, but just get one. But I've recommended two that will really start to go into giving you the information you need. And then you will get to really know about who and what you are. And we also have a lot of audio recordings on YouTube that you can listen to. Okay, so I've actually got the book. It's called Who is God, Female or Male? And I will explain and read a little bit, because in religion, you're taught that God is a man, and this man is in heaven, and he took the dust of the ground and created a woman. Created a man, and then took the rib of the man and created a woman, which is actually misinformation and incorrect information scientifically, where everyone on the planet actually comes from a woman. So the woman came first, and as the woman, you give birth to everyone on the planet, and you carry something called a mitochondrial DNA, which is passed from female to female offspring. And so as a divine being, the female is really the goddess, due to the fact that you have the XX chromosomes, and the Y is a defective X, right, with the right tail missing. So I'm going to show you here from like reading both the Bible and the Quran. They all talk about, you know, man being first, and that's misinformation, because the woman, the female, she's the goddess. Okay, so let me read a little bit just to give you some information.
Okay.
So it says, you have masculine and feminine numbers in Arabic, right? 1 equals masculine, as in wahad, and wahadat is feminine. This verse is talking about from the Quran, where it's talking about, it's used the feminine gender throughout for the first being, and from her twins or male, you even see the word al-arham, the wombs, not the penises or the phallus. So why did they mistranslate this? If you read it over, it says that God created a female, and from her mate, then men. Again, because it's you who grew the men, as in the XY, and knowing that the Y chromosome is a defected X chromosome is proof, or the male is missing 1/4 of the 8 parts. All right, let me show you that, if you can see. So when you look at the X, yeah, and you look at the Y, the X has 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, whereas the Y has 3. And this last part is missing because this was taken away from the man. So the man has only a third, where the woman has 4. And if we were to draw this like in a square and put the X there, yeah, and then we did that for the man, what you will see is that this is all mathematics and science. Yeah, you can see that the man is missing some things, missing this one stem. And so let's carry on reading. So it's saying that on the male, it's missing 1/4 of the 8 parts. Now, being ontology deals with math and not myth, we will speak in maths. The female chromosome is 5 times bigger than the Y chromosome, which has 0.8% less genetic material. The male is missing 1 stem, and females' divinity is only comprised by physical contact with males when they are exchanging fluids, because she is a perfect state. She is in a perfect state or balanced. The matrix of the female chromosome is all mapped out in maths. What she will look like, sound like, her growth, her genes, skin, hair, eyes, organs, it's all there. So it's really 9. If you started to build this up, yeah, you will see the matrix that I'm talking about. So you kept building these up. After a while, it will become so, you know, the more you build them up, you start to see the various different dimensions. So by that is meant that she uses her whole body, and each part of her body, unlike males, who have parts of his body he doesn't use, like his chest or mammary, mammary glands, while she does use hers. Thus, she's complete. So the male, we have the mammary glands, but we don't use them for anything, whereas the woman will breastfeed her child with it. Now, look at this mathematically. Supreme mathematics, because it all comes down to numbers or quantity. It's clear that the female body is complete, and it's why she is the one who can hold the new being's body and give birth to a complete or incomplete baby. Female complete 720 degrees or 360 degrees and 360 degrees. And then when you look at the male, that's going to be, the male is going to be 630 degrees when you add the whole kind of like composition of male. So, or incomplete male is 630 degrees or 360 degrees plus 270 degrees. You'll have to get the scroll to see all the diagrams and to really understand what we're saying. But the point is that you as a female, you carry the mitochondrial DNA and you are complete, and in religion and in the way you've been taught to basically suppress the woman, you're given this misinformation or wrong information that you came out of the man when the man actually comes out of you. And this goes on to why a lot of women have been suppressed by way of religions and in society in general. But now we're coming into a new cycle where it's really the awakening for the females and basically everyone, but definitely for the females, are starting to regain their rightful place as they were supposed to be. Did you have any more questions?
I just wanted to know, everyone has a name, and I don't. I just have American name.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was saying I didn't know who I was. Like, I don't have a name like everybody else has a name.
It's a journey. You have to start, and you will get your name. Because you're going to transform and get back to learning who you are, and then you will be in a better position if you are choosing your own name to choose a befitting name. But if you continue on your journey and become a part of Wu-Sabat, a part of the culture, then you may be given your name later on by way of the various orders that we have if you go through those initiations.
So how do you do your initiations? Because where I'm at, there's nobody here that does the things that Dr. Ma and them are doing. It was in New York before, but I'm in Pennsylvania, so there's no one around me.
What we will do,
I'm doing everything on my own.
We'll put you in contact, or make sure you connect with us. We have a Telegram group, which is in the chat. Make sure you join that, and then you can ask more questions about who is closest to you, and we can actually signpost you.
But could you send me that link, or is it possible?
Yeah,
or I can look in the chat?
It's in the chat. We're going to put it in the chat.
Okay.
And
well, thank you
just
so much.
No problem.
I'm going to stay with you guys, and I appreciate you.
Love you. Now, take it easy in terms of don't try and learn everything all in once in a hurry, because there's no haste. Take your time, get to know more. As I said, I recommend some scrolls to you. Start to read the scrolls. Join the Telegram group, and then we can help you more. All right?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Take care. Wadu. Right. So have you pressed the like button yet? If you haven't done so, you can go ahead and do that now. It helps us because the algorithm is all based on how much interaction you have with us, all right? So if you haven't hit that like button, do so now, please. Thank you. Right, let me get back to trying to answer Marcia's question. I was at the point where, we're talking about your ancestors. So you have ancestors that are part of your personality. So you have both what people call good and bad, but we say agreeable and disagreeable. And the agreeable ancestors are the ones that guide you and help you. We got another call. Greetings, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's your questions? Rahul back. Okay, I think they're cut off. Yeah. So when we say spirits, those are your personalities that affect you. We have a Patarak called 30 spirits that you should get, because it goes into more detail about these spirits. And you have spirits that are part of your family, your bloodline, but you can also be influenced or affected by other outside spirits. Yeah, so this is why we say learn about the ancestors.
Hello.
Greetings, caller. Rahubat.
Hello.
Rahubat.
Hello. Yeah. So when we say
We can hear you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's your question, please?
hi, hi. Good afternoon. Here from
Yeah, I think you have the
Filipina.
video playing in the background. Maybe it may help if you mute it or.
Yeah, I'm bringing it down. I'm bringing the volume down.
Okay, there you go. That's better. Go ahead.
Okay, I am the person which question he is trying to answer. He is talking about Marsha, but that is my wife. I think I had the first question about the ancestors or the Orishas.
Right.
And he said he didn't understand the question.
Yeah,
but
I can
what
hear
I
you.
meant is
You're live.
because that's why I'm trying to call in, because ever since I was 3 years old, I had it began with a lot of dreams. And I myself, when I reached the age of 20, I became a Jehovah's Witness. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
This question he is trying to answer. Oh, he's talking about Marsha.
Yeah, I'm here. Go ahead.
Can I talk?
Yes, go ahead. Why is it you're echoing back because you have the video in the background. So if you could turn that off.
Okay, I'm live. Okay.
Yeah, you're live.
What I'm trying to ask,
yes, go ahead,
is what is the opinion of Wu-Sabat on the Orishas? To give you a bit of my history, from the age of 3, so far I can remember, it began with dreams. A lot of dreams. Things I couldn't explain. When I reached the age of 20, I became a Jehovah's Witness for, let's say, 18 to 19 years. When I reached the age of 40, it intensified.
Sorry, because we have a lot of callers.
Of Orishas,
sorry,
began to introduce themselves to me, and then a lot of things began. The initiation process, which I myself had to do.
Caller, can you hear me? What's your name? Stephen, yes.
Yeah,
because we have a lot of people waiting for questions. Is your question about the Orishas?
What is the opinion on the Orishas?
Okay, I got your question.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you. So, a lot of people come into the awakening or Wu-Sabat, and the Orishas, right? This is tying into the Yoruba, okay? And Yoruba, in its original form, was animist or animism, which is dealing with the recognition of ancestors and practicing reverence and giving gratitude to nature. And the names that people call on, right, which stem from the original Yoruba way of life, culture, actually got desecrated to some degree by influences from religion and other races, particularly the Arabs. So today, a lot of people are practicing what they think is the traditional way of the Yoruba religion, but it's been mixed with Arab influence, and different things have been introduced into it, such as offerings of blood, of, you know, all kinds of things. You know, people will, but we in Wu-Sabat, we recognize its origin in terms of when it was just dealing with respect and dealing with nature, because we understood and understand that we come from nature and we return to nature. But what the form it's in today, it's been mixed with like Santeria, it's been mixed with, you know, as I said, the Arabs way. That's why when you look at the names like Obatala or Oba Ta'ala, you can clearly hear the word Allah in there, which is really from an Islamic origin. Oba or Oba means father, okay? So then you start to look at, as you say, Ogun, and you know, there are different names that deities that people are calling, but if you go back and do the research, those names actually tie into the ancient Egyptian, right, pre-dynastic beings, which is what we tie into. So what I'm basically saying, like, people can have dreams and have all kinds of personal experiences, but you need to actually start to recognize that if you're not of that bloodline, okay, then they're not going to really respond to you. And Wu-Sabat is really the way that you should be learning and practicing. Of course, the culture is still the culture in terms of if you are tied into that bloodline. This is why it's really important for people to know the differences between the original Yoruba way of life and how it ties into Wu-Sabat, and the fact that these influences that have brought about what people are doing today, which is nothing to do with its origins, where they're now doing like blood sacrifices and offerings. It doesn't matter whatever it is, if it's a lock of hair, a chicken, a goat, sprinkling blood all over the place, that's nothing to do with ours. This is actually appeasing some of these disagreeable beings. And that's why, you know, we say stay away from it and learn the true way of wu-nuwapu or Wu-Sabat, which is really where your true culture lies. I do hope that's been helpful to you. But we do have a book actually called The Yoruba. We have, by the master teacher, of course, and we have you know, many other books that actually address and deal with this, because in America, in a lot of the West, people are starting to, when they're trying to find their culture and go back and tie into what they should be doing, a lot of people are being influenced and they're ending up going to, you know, being a Yoruba high priest or practicing certain things, and they don't really know the full origin or the true way of life, which really is stemming from being animist. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can actually finish. Oh yeah, that was the same person, right? So we've kind of covered that. But there was I think there was a second part to that. Let me see if I can pick it up. I've lost it. Let me see if I can go back and pick that up. Yeah, here we go. Happy to see you. Does Wu-Sabat have teachings on finance? Oh, that's somebody else's question. Yeah. So we'll go to that one. Right. So greetings, Ken. Happy to see you. Does Wu-Sabat have teachings on finances? This is Chinyera's question. For example, Muslims can't take certain jobs, collect interest, etc. Is there a scroll on building wealth? Of course, yeah, we do deal with finances because, you know, we live in a world where, you know, we don't shy away from wealth and, you know, finances because you need it in the world we're living in. However, you know, we deal with everything with balance, and we're not restricted as you were saying, where, you know, some people can't take certain jobs, etc. But we are very sensible in our approach to everything, not just finances. And what's the second part? Yeah, that religious stuff, like collecting tithes and you know, that's a lot of that has been exaggerated, and you have to think about it. Most of that is man-made, because why does God need any type of offerings in terms of collections? Or, you know, this is by way of man-made dogmas that have been incorporated into the religious books. But yeah, in terms of, we're very, very aware of finances. Obviously, we are a successful culture, and we deal with doing for self. So yes, your question is yes, we do have teachings on finances, but not an actual like book, as you say. Most of the information is shared within the family, and we encourage everyone to become part of the family. But yeah, we definitely work for self, and yeah, we don't follow we don't follow the religious aspects of it in that sense, like, as you say, zikr and what's the word for yeah, I can't remember the exact Islamic word, but it's one of the 5 pillars where they give charity and so on. But we do actually deal with finances. All right, let's keep going. Any other questions? Rahubat, Virgin Island, ask your questions. Rahubat Zamal. Okay, there's a question from Maria. Rahubat Zamal Saken from Trinidad and Tobago. For those of us who are 7 and 8 ether beings, do we have souls? 2, can we be chosen to be among the 144,000? 3, can we rise? Yes, you can. Yes to every question that you asked. But the thing is, just because you see this, the ether things, we have to clarify when you're talking about ether. There is ether in terms of hair or hair texture, and there is the race aspect in terms of genetics. So 9 ether in terms of hair is dealing with the original tight curly hair that you have, where you can't even put a comb through it, okay? And that was like the Sans people. If you look at the Sans people of South Africa, they have that. That's that 9 ether, the highest in terms of the follicles grow out and they curl in the 9. And because of the sun heat genes that applies to us as beings of the sun, melanite beings. Now, when you go from that 9 ether in texture, you're going to go to 8 and 7, and then you're going to get to 6 ether. 6 ether is like the other way in terms of, let me draw this up. When you look at, so this is your head, right? When the hair comes out from the follicles, it kind of curls like this. That's why we say 9, yeah? And it grows upwards towards the sun. Because as I said, this sun heat genes, but this activity is going on, you know, inside your skull and it coming out. So I'm just trying to give you an idea of, so this is your face and your hair. So 9 ether or woolly hair beings is the hair's coming out of the follicles and it's turning into a 9, right? When you look at 6 ether, so if you look at a 9, that's a 9. And then when you look at 6, the same thing will apply. So that's someone's head, right? Let's say. And the hair comes out from the follicles, but it comes and curls like this. So it's like it's coming out, but it's going downwards like this. You see the 6? So it's coming out like this, and then it comes down instead. So when you look at that 6, this is what we're calling it's adverse to 9. It's almost like people say, like, if you had a mirror, right, it's adverse. It's the other way around. Afro hair or 9 ether hair goes upwards. 6 ether, it's really not even hair, it's more fur. Because when you look at animals or beings that have fur, you could take a piece of that and put it and take a piece from other beings with 6 ether hair. You won't be able to tell the difference. It's straight, it's flank, it comes down. That's dealing with hair. And when you're dealing with ether in the sense of beings, you're dealing with 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. You can even keep going down. Yeah? The Nagarus or the Negroids are 9 ether. Then you have the Dravidians who are 7 and 8. Then you have Caucasian female are 6 ether, Caucasian male are 5 ether, and then you go on down to, as I said, animals and other types of beings. So it's important for us to distinguish between when we're saying ether in the sense of hair texture and when we're saying ether in the sense of races. Yeah, so, and when we're talking about souls, we're dealing with the energy of the essence of you, which is the real you or the being that is inside your physical body, but you need to activate it, and that is done by way of, like we keep saying, like you got different chakras in your body, your energy seats, or where you're dealing with different vibrations, and you have to activate that solar plexus, yeah, and then you start to build what people call the Kundalini awakening. That energy, you build it up, and then you get it to the pineal gland, which is the 7th at the top, and then your pineal gland opens where people say the third eye is open or they're awake. But as Nagaru, we have 2 more above the 7 that gives us 9. So when you're saying 7 and 8 ether beings, do we have souls? Yes. And when you say, can we be chosen? To be chosen is based on your actions and whether or not you transform yourself. It's not literally just based on your skin color or the fact that you're a Nagaru, because you can be a Nagaru or dark skin and still don't have a soul, or your soul is dimmed or not activated. So it's more about the awakening and the activation of your true being, and it all ties in with your heart seat as well, because it's about love as well. It's about your intentions. It's about what you actually do, because there are many people that say they're woke and they read a million books, but they don't apply that divine love or a shook, you see. So yeah, and in terms of being chosen to be a part of the 144,000, that's down to the being that is the one, Parnababyanun, that is the one choosing, putting those names in that book of life. And so no one can really say they're making it or they're going to make it or they're already, 9 ether, so they're okay. It's all about your actions and your intentions and what you actually do for humanity. So that's ego when people think that they're they've made it. They go do the work, and you have to be chosen or accepted to make it. It's not you that is the judge. Okay, Jack Ruby, sorry. What's your opinion of black Israelites? Yeah, people keep saying questions. I mean, if you're new, it's understandable. But when people ask us, what's your opinions? We're not really an opinion-based culture. We deal with facts, actual facts. We deal with, proven things, scientific information. So opinions is what causes the problems in the world, because anybody can have an opinion. And if you actually research the word opinions, it's just literally your beliefs. And it's very broad when you say, what's your opinion of black Israelites? Opinion regarding what? And it's better if you ask a straight question. When you say Israelites as well, right, you're literally, again, you're tying into the Bible, and you're saying Isra, right? Isra and El. Israel, Israel, or which was the name of one of the angels known as Jacob. Yeah, because Jacob wrestled with an angel, and that's when his name was changed to Israel. And when you put the word ites at the end of it, ites denotes, a group of people. So in the Bible, you have two people, the Israelites, and then you have the Ishmaelites. Ishmael, again you see Ismael or Ishmael, who was the Ishmael and the Israelites actually family or brothers, because you have Abraham, who had a wife known as Hagar, yeah, who had the son, yeah, called Ishmael. So in religion, they try to have these two people fight against each other, but these Ishmaelites is where you get the Arabs today. So when you you start to see, you got 6-pointed star, and then you have the 5-pointed star, and draw that with a crescent. And these two, in terms of religion, they're fighting against each other, where you have the Christians and the Muslims fighting against each other. But when you tie it into Hagar, this is dealing with the Egyptians, or the ancient Egyptians, when you tie back into ancient Egypt. So these are all descendants of people. So it's important when we say a question of what's your opinion of black Israelites, like what does that really mean in terms of opinions? I mean, there are many people who are accepting religions when they're actually, in terms of who and what you are, is tying into your DNA. It's tying into your DNA and the origins of where you come from. And now, today, everyone has recognized or finds that wherever you dig up, wherever you find people and look at the DNA, the original is going to always be the Africans. And everywhere you go on the planet, that's the case. So all these divisions of Israelite, because then you have the denominations, the Hebrew Israelites, the Israeli church, the different types of Israelites fighting against each other. And then you have the Jebusites, okay? Again, let me just put that. So when you look at that in the interlocking, you got Jebus, who is one of the sons, yeah, the sons of Canaan. And the ites, so you got the Jebusites, the Canaanites, and it goes on, and we can list the 11 sons, yeah, Amorites, from Amorites. All of these are fighting amongst each other. Like even now where you got the wars that are going on, and they've been going on for years, like in Palestine and Israel, and you have, you know, people just fighting over land and fighting over religion. But honestly, when you say black, we are dealing with us as African or Nagaru, and our culture predates all religions. And it all goes back to ancient Tamaray, or what people call in Egypt as Africans of Wu-Sabat. Yeah, Afafre Ka'u, that's, we're Africans, not really, we don't let religion divide you, in other words. So your question is, what's your opinion of black Israelites? Yeah, you'll have to be a bit more specific. We don't have opinions, we just deal with the facts, and we answer questions based on evidence and what's there to be able to give you the facts. John Cotton, Rahubat. So that was for Jack Ruby, 6696. So if you want to clarify your question a little bit, maybe we can go into a bit more, but we deal with Wu-Sabat. Okay, we got another question. Gary Lodge. Can you go more into 6 ether beings that are green and also talk about the significance of seeing one in real life? First of all, you have to give us your reference. You just said 6 ether beings that are green. Where is that information coming from? Like, is there a source for that information? And why do you say there are 6 ether beings that are green? The significance of seeing one in real life. Again, there's so many personal experiences that people have, and they're your experience. We can't tell you why you have seen one. But yeah, give us more factual information. Like, where did you get that from? Because there are so many beings in terms of extraterrestrials, hybrids, beings on the planet. Your color can have a relationship to where you're coming from in terms of the environment, the atmosphere. Is it a genetic, you know what I mean, engineering thing? We need to know more information. And people see beings for all different kinds of reasons, and we'd have to know what took place and how it happened. And one of the things we always ask people that say they've seen something is, did you interact with the being? Did you ask that being questions? Were you able to communicate with that being to know, okay, what do you want with me? Why am I seeing you? Why are you here? Would, you know, or you just saw it and it disappeared? You know, you have to give us a bit more context. Okay, we got Kifa Bina. Rahubat Saken. Question. What does it mean if you keep dreaming about Panabab Yanun and he answered one of your personal question and someone came to understand that I have to decode myself? Yes, you do have to decode yourself, and making connection with Panabab Yanun is a great thing. If you actually, if he visits you or you visit him in your dreams, but that's really for you to decipher. It's a message for you, because many people ask and request to know more about this being, and there's so many stories I could share with you from other people's experiences, but that's their experience and it's a message for them, and you have to figure out. So for example, someone might be skeptical and they're really sincere and really want to know. That there's a story that I know where somebody was literally like, if you really are who you are, I'm not saying this to say everyone should start doing it in vain, but there are situations where, you know, he will give you signs and show you to prove to you who he really is. And everyone will have their experience if they're sincere and seeking the truth, you know, and that connection you have maybe a spiritual connection with him, and you have to learn and build on that. That's why we keep telling people, come closer, be amongst the family, so that you can learn more and speak to other people about their experiences and so on and so forth. All right. Shadel Rahubat. In Nuwabian teachings, is Yaqub seen as a being who could return or reincarnate in another form, or was his mission considered complete in that cycle? Thank you for all the information. Yeah, the Yaqub story, you'll find that in a scroll called Shambhala Nagata, which we have available. And it's explaining to you, the story is on different levels. So, you know, like different people picked it up, like the Nation of Islam speak about it. Even the word Yaqub relates to what I was saying about Jacob, right? Yaqub. But the story is really about him grafting the beings known as the Flugorods, right? These beings came like 2,400 years before the Adamites. So that's 8,400 years ago. The Adamites were grafted 6,000 years ago. So that story of what took place with Lucianus and Jacob, who was really a product of a mixture of the Danakil, okay? These were beings that resided in the subterranean world known as Shambhala. And you had different beings, different like species of beings in that subterranean world, okay? Like the Danakil. The Danakil, they have huge craniums in terms of their heads, right? And then you had the Teros. The Teros are the cone-shaped head beings. So Yaqub was a mixture of the two. And he came out because of that mixture, having two brains and having a very large head, okay? So he was teased by both sides of the family, and you know, he then rebelled and was like, he sought to get them back. And what he was gonna do was create a being that's gonna be weak and wicked, and he was gonna be over them and control them as their God, and then be worshipped. And you know, this is what his ego, and but he was actually influenced by beings from Pleiades, the Pleiadians, and they actually activated his brain and gave him these diabolical thoughts of what he said he was going to do, but creating a being that's going to be weak and wicked. And he started to do that by way of genetic engineering, and it took him a period of 600 years, but he didn't actually survive to the end to see his creation manifest. But by the time his brain actually exploded, because, you know, as I said, his head was really big, he suffered from a brain clot, which basically led to his death. But his scientists, they continued and carried on the mission. And the result of that was the Flugorods, right? And then that story was then picked up by the Nation of Islam when they talk about it, but they just had bits of information. They were missing a lot of the detail, okay, which the master teacher provided. But they gave it to you in the lesson, saying that, you know, the uncle found magnets and rubbed them together, but there is symbology in the story as well as, you know, bits and pieces missing. So this is the scroll I'm talking about, Shambhala and Agatar, cities within the earth. And within this, the master teacher goes into a lot of detail about, like I said, the backdrop of the story, which I literally just gave you a piece. But like I said, when you start to tie it into the Pleiadians, the beings that were influencing him to give him this, because he was upset, he was angry, you know, kind of like the Cain and Abel story where he got angry and then what resulted was bloodshed. He was basically trying to do the same thing. So in the end, he created the Flugelrods, and later on, when the Caucasians, Adamites, sorry, because you got, when we say words, but you have to be clear on the different types of words that are used because they actually mean different things. So saying white, saying Caucasian, saying Adamite, saying Canaanite, Amorite, they all mean different things, even though some people will just put them all together into one. But the Flugelrods 8,400 years ago later then mixed with those beings that were in the Caucasus Mountain. This is where the word Caucasian, Caucasus, Asian, the Caucasus Mountains, those beings then mixed with the Flugelrods. But this is what, let me show you what, I just had a picture of. Yeah, this is what the Flugelrod beings look like, okay? And he was the chief of the Flugelrods. His name is Korg. And see if I can read you a little bit about what happened. But anyway, so let me go back to, so these are the Donacule. You see how they look? Yeah. So they're basically, so Yakub was a product of them and the Teros, who are the cone-shaped head beings. Then you had other beings that came from Sirius, like the shaggy beings, that also raped and mixed with them. And so you've got different types of beings. There you go. These are the beings from Ashtar, the Ashtar command, the Pleiadians that actually, telepathically influenced Yakub, and they were tied into the being known as Hitler, who in itself was a reincarnation of one of the 200 fallen angels, but his name was spelled slightly differently, Hitla, and the one that most people know about was spelled with Ler. But you can see the relationship between the Pleiadians and him, as well as him trying to go about creating a superior race of blonde hair and blue eyes, etc., etc. So I had the picture, I can't find it now. But the Teros, yeah, there you go. These are the Teros beings that mix with the Donacule to produce who you're calling Yakub or Jacob. And in the story, in the biblical sense, now that Jacob supplanted Esau, yeah, to try and get the inheritance. Let me see if I've gone off. What was the question again? Where was that question? Okay, yeah. So the question was, in the Nuwapian teaching, is Yakub seen as a being who could return or reincarnate in another form? Yeah, I mean, most beings reincarnate over and over and over again until you learn how not to come back. And you do that by way of mastering this plane and elevating yourself so that you can actually move on to the higher vibrational, higher realms. And when you say his mission was his mission complete, from that, today, you still have the Jebusites. Yeah, this is what's going on, where they're passing, they're running the world right now, right? Because the word ties into, they would say they're the Yahudaites, because out of the 12 tribes, the only ones that survived, because they were destroyed, if you read 2 Kings, right, they were destroyed, and the only ones that were left were the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Dan. But these Jebusites, Amorites, what they've done is supplanted themselves. This is what the story of Jacob and Esau is about. Like I said, some of it is allegorical, but some of it is symbolic and some of it is literal, in the sense that they supplanted and took over and pretended to be from, when they say Yahuda, because remember again, in Hebrew, there's no J's and V's. So the J, from where you're hearing Judah, from Jebus, is really dealing with the Yahudaites, right? The Yahuda, and trying to tie in Yahuda to Judah, because the Judahites are separate from the Jebusites. But if you don't know about the 11 sons of Canaan and know about this technology, they're in the world, running the world and supplanting themselves as the true beings, right? This is where, tying into the previous question, not to get too, you know what I mean, into the politics and all of that, but basically, yeah, Jacob's grafted being that he said he was going to create to rule the world, and they would show him respect that he is their God, have supplanted themselves in the place of others, and they're now looking at everyone else and calling them infidels and heathens, and they read books like the books of the Talmud, which, you know, makes them feel like they're actually superior than everyone else. Yeah, and it's the same when you go to like Islam, where you're now reading books from hadiths, the hadiths, instead of the book that's supposed to come from Allah, which is the Quran. And the same thing is happening in Christianity, where you've got these books that were written after, like Jesus was supposed to have passed, like the Gospels and Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And then you look at that. So in the world today, as soon as the people that come with the message, the true message, it actually gets distorted. And then you have people following the wrong people and reading, you know, the words of men and not reading the scriptures. So the book in the Christian or New Testament that's really more authentic is John's book, because John was referred to as by Jesus his beloved, and his stuff collaborates with what Jesus taught. He received and the book of Revelation, which is really Jesus's book, because it tells you that. So there are many books in the Bible that people are reading and following that are not really authentic or the true. They're not even part of the original scriptures, but they've been added. So I know I've gone long on that, but that's dealing with Jacob. And yeah, people have manifested in the world today who are really the descendants of those beings that he grafted. And that's part of the problem of the problems we have in the world today. Okay, let's keep going. Have a little drink. Have we got any questions on TikTok? TikTok's quiet today. Miss Iris Moss, this keeps me refreshed and keep going. Okay, if you would like to call in, remember the numbers in the chat. Excuse me. Okay, let's go on. Next question. Also, do beings like Jacob continue their work in other ages or dimensions? Or does their purpose end once that cycle closes? Well, this is the thing about now. We're living in a cycle, a new cycle where, yeah, 6 ether forces are being removed. And they've come to their expiration. And so, but in terms of your question, disagreeable beings, what they do, they keep going to different places and colonizing. So when you look at this whole thing with the beings that have come here, because when you read in the Bible that there was a war in heaven, Revelation 12:7, and that Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels, and they were cast down here to earth, people have to realize that these beings came to earth and they have offspring and they have children. The same as in Genesis 6:4, where it talks about the Nephilims, how they came down to earth and they came here and they took these women by force. and had offspring with them and produced beings that it even tells you that God thought it grieved him that he had created this being because it was weak and wicked and was, out of control. So when you're looking at what's going on the planet today, it's the same scenario playing over. So these beings that came down here, now the Michael, when we say Michael, we're referring to Michael or Malachi, who he's that warring angel. He's that archangel that, the war was talking about. And they came here, and he's come here now to basically expose them and get rid of these 6 ether forces with the help of his angels that are working in the way of the agreeable side. So this is where you have the two sides, 9 ether, 6 ether. You have agreeable, you have disagreeable, or they say seraphim and cherubim, or they say, people say good and bad. You got the two forces doing battle right now on every level you can think of, physically, mentally, spiritually. And when they get defeated, they always try to escape and go somewhere else and do the same thing, try to take over, colonize, control the people. And this is the nature of that offspring that does the same on the planet, you see. So, but this time, with the ending of the last 6,000 year moon cycle, this is what's going on right now. They're actually being removed between now and 2030. So you're going to see the climax and the chaos and everything is being exposed. And so whether or not they're going to go to, well, what we're being taught by the master teachers, that no, this time round, they are not escaping to go and do more evil on other places. So they're trapped. This is why many are trying to get out of here. They're trying to go to the Goldilocks. They're trying to go to Europa. They're trying to go to Mars. They're trying to go, but they've been quarantined and they can't escape because it is that time where we say it's got to go. Extinction time. Okay, we got another question here. Wow, we actually have quite a lot of questions that I haven't. Okay, covered that one. Who's next? Okay, what does it mean if you, okay, we covered that. Yakub, we covered that. Oh, in terms of, yeah, you got disagreeable beings in all different dimensions, but they can't go to the higher dimensions of 9 ether. And that's, you said their purpose end. So yeah, they can go to the lower abodes and they try to get out of here, as I've already mentioned, or try to piggyback or ride on someone to go to the 9 ethers, but they can't. We got a live caller, so let's stop and take that. Greetings, caller. Rahubat.
Rahubat, greetings, Alana.
Rahubat, how you doing?
Good, everything good. I was calling, I had a question to ask. Is it true that the Canaanites and the Neanderthals that you were talking about, are they the ones that's running the corporations behind the scenes, those 13 families like the Bilderbergers, the Rothschilds and stuff like that, that's controlling everything?
Tua, but the thing is, they have, or they had, overlords that were basically guiding them, and they're like the puppets that do the work. But these overlords from Pleiadians and reptilians and the draconian beings, they have left. Their overlords have left them now. But yes, to answer the question, they work through the families that are in control, and but a lot of them do know that this time their time is up, and that's why they're doing everything they can to survive and to keep control by introducing things like the New World Order, and they're all part of like the Luciferian conspiracy. and they're all part of the, they go to like do these rituals in the Bohemian Grove and appease their Moloch, right? Which is the beings that we're talking about. But a lot of them have abandoned them now because they realize that, their time is up, and a lot of them have left and are leaving the planet. But yes, so you're right on the money.
Okay, one more last question. Are they actually what the seed of Enlil?
Tua,
Do they draw back all the way to Enlil? When he
absolutely.
came down also with his brother Enki and then he started having children, are they Enlil's seed or offspring?
Yes, because remember that Nana is the offspring of Enlil. And Nana is that Moloch, that being. That's where, even in the Bible, it talks about when they did that offering between Cain and Abel, and he said that when you become like he did, he got angry and he had that smokeless, that fire, where in Islam is referred to as Narin Samun, and the word Uncle Sam from Samun comes into that, because what happened is that he then decided, because he wasn't accepted, he went into the order of sin. And the quote says that sin lies at the door, but you're really dealing with Nana sin. And Nana is that tone that ties into that Nana. And that's who a lot of people think they're really praying to and calling on or worshipping, when they think they're worshipping God, but they're actually dealing with Nana. And like you're right, Enlil and Enki, the wars, the conflicts of the gods is between them two, and those conflicts have been going on and still going on till today, where you have in the Bible any word that is ending with L, like we were saying earlier on when I was like Israel, right? Any L words, they're tying into El Enlil. And then the other one, like ending with Ja, like Adonijah. Those are all the people that were tying into Enki. And till this day, you see that there's always wars between two sides, whether it's political parties, religions, whether it's sports. There's always two sides, and the competition makes one side win and the other side lose. And the side that loses always has that energy of depression, etc., etc., and it ties into society in many ways. And this is where Wu-Sabat is trying to teach people, or teaching people, that you can have fun, but not to the extent where it becomes that energy where you want to plot to destroy or to unalive someone. But competitions are done by way of that, because these beings actually feed off of the negative energy on the planet. Yeah, so even like we just came out of what they call Halloween, and you really look at these practices that go back to like Samhain and go back to, some people claim, oh, it was originally a good thing because it was dealing with like, your loved ones that have crossed over. But there's a side to that which deals with the worshipping these beings that are on the, sixth ether side, on different realms, feeding these draconian, these reptilian beings that, passing themselves off as God. So something demonic and worshipping, like I said, the goat of Mendez, and you start to go into some of the things that are being exposed now with, with children, with all kinds of things that are being done by these beings that are in the occult, and they do certain rituals and things like that. So yeah, there's a whole satanic order and devil worship all the way that ties to Enlil and Nana. And then you got obviously the other side, which is trying to expose and bring this knowledge to everybody, to the point where now people are waking up. They're seeing there's a noise coming back from your phone. I don't know if you can hear it. But
Car.
yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, so yeah. Go ahead. Is there anything else you wanna
Yeah,
Ask.
last question, because I've been learning a lot watching y'all for the past 2, 3 years. Also, too, was Enlil actually like eating the people back then too, and wanting them as sacrifices, like the Natharu, like the original people that was here? He was jealous of us,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
he started like destroying and eating us also too.
Yeah, because this is what happened where they were eating even like the original Sans people of South Africa. And they had, this is where it got crazy until today, even now, where people are, they don't realize that there's a whole food for the gods, meaning that they're farming and abducting beings and preparing. As I said, a lot of these overlords have left them, so they're preparing for their journey back, and they're here to take food, and they're taking food in the form of humans that, just like as I said, we now you're hearing a lot of restaurants are being found to have, they're selling or they've got human meat in there. I'm not gonna,
Like
yeah.
McDonald's, for example.
I didn't say it, but yeah, there's been in the news, and yeah, like the same thing humans do when they go and buy, chickens and freeze them, or lambs or goats or whatever, and eat them. Extraterrestrials also do the same to humans. So there's a lot of missing people, and in terms of being abducted, and even the movie, The Fifth Kind, was it the fifth kind? Fourth kind. The fourth kind was basically a depiction of a real story that took place with these Anunnaki beings coming, and in Nome, Alaska, that's where the movie is set. But it's really a true story, a documentary. Yeah, it's The Fourth Kind. Watch that if you haven't seen it. And on that, they actually show you footage of an Anunnaki speaking, and it's about a woman's. I think it is a daughter or a son. She gets abducted basically, and the whole movie's about her trying to get her back. But I don't want to spoil it for everyone, but it's a depiction. This was a true story, that because Nome, Alaska is in the dark 6 months of the year, and there are crafts that are here that are in certain parts of the planet, above the planet, where they're not able to be detected, and they actually are taking, these, and they're taking people who are on a particular vibration, giving off a lot of six ether energy. So there's a whole side to things that are actually going on the planet, that is not really spoken about. But we give you the facts, we give you the scrolls, and yeah, it's Nana and Enlil. Those are those beings that people are calling the devil, but they obviously have offspring, and they have minions and people that, again, another movie is End of Days, with Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you watch that, you see how it all ties into, as you say, the richest people, the families that that are part of this whole satanic agenda, bringing in the new world order and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, the studying and reading and getting the actual facts will help you, break down the spell.
Yeah, that's some very helpful information. Final thing though, so with us as, 9 ether beings, the original, melanated people, we just have to continue to rise our vibration and continue to elevate ourselves to be able to protect ourselves from everything that's coming towards us.
Well, it's not just, that's true, but we also have to unite and come together and help wake up the world to the truth. That's why it's important for you to be a part of the community, and not just like stay outside and reading the books, because there are levels to it. We're not going to divulge or give out all the information publicly, but that's why you have to come inside, so you can learn more and be amongst the protection by the angel that's been sent here to do this work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, last thing though. So also, was the 9 Enlil, were they melanated beings that look similar or close to us? How we looked also too?
Sorry, say the first part. I didn't hear the first part.
I said, was Nana and Enlil, were they melanated beings also that look similar to us as like Negro or African people, Negro people?
Yeah, they're dark skinned. The Anunnaki, if you look at them, are dark skinned. But then you have other beings that, depending where they come from, you know, we have pictures of them in the many scrolls by the master teacher. But yeah, the Anunnaki were dark skinned beings, and you can find that in a lot of the findings in Sumer. But just because remember, when we say dark skin or dark black, they actually tie into the Hindu beings, because these Hindu beings, they came down here, they had dark skin, but they had the straight hair. Yeah, this is why when Cain was cast down, he went to the land of Nod, and those beings were already there, residing there, and that's why people get confused. And even with like the Nation of Islam, when their lessons were talking about Asiatic black man, they thought that the original man is from Asia, but Asia is not Africa, and so yeah, that's what happened. The tying in and the mixture with these reptilians, these original Hindu beings or Dravidians, then produced offspring that are brown or dark skin, but they still have six ether being nature and also six ether hair. Yeah.
Okay, that clarifies up a lot because you know when it comes to color, I actually think everybody associated due to being colonized with being black or Negroid just because your skin complexion.
Yeah, that's right. But it's not all folk that look the same that are real folks. Like this is the whole thing why you hear about the gatekeepers, you hear about the beings that you see like successful in Hollywood and so on and so forth, and people don't realize that they are part of the agenda because they are like in that world. Just it's not based on the color of your skin. There's black devils, there's white devils, there's all kinds of devils. It's about the actions and what you actually do and the intentions behind what you do. You see, so that's why we say all the time, don't be caught up on just thinking that because you're in black skin, that means some of these beings, they shapeshift anyway. They can take on different types of forms, So the color
Right.
thing is it's something like it's constructed, just like black and white people. We know there aren't really black and white people. These are just terms that are used to have people fight amongst each other, and
Right.
the people that are pulling the strings. That's what the master teacher said. It's not actually a black and white thing. It's a grey thing now, because the greys have been running the planet, and they are part of the beings that are controlling the planet, like the reptilians, who they abduct these greys, and some of these greys are the ones that, yeah, basically are doing the work of the higher draconian beings and so forth. But yes, the planet Earth is it's more complex than what people think in terms of the different beings and who's running what and what's taking place. But the master
Right. They
teacher,
show it to us in movies first, cartoons or TV shows, and then they act it out in front of you so you won't, be surprised or something about it really or play it off.
exactly like I mentioned Halloween earlier on. There were people that people were seeing in their true form, but they're making out like it's a costume, and people just think, yeah, it's a Halloween costume, but this is their real form. They're showing you, but that's the one day where they can pretend or be, themselves, and you would just think, oh, great costume, you know. Yeah. All right. Gotta, yeah, take some
Thank you,
questions.
definitely. That was
Yo,
very informative. I appreciate it, right back.
Wadu.
Well, I do.
Okay, let's try and get through more questions. Gosh, where's the question I just saw? Okay, here you go. What does it mean when we say people in music or entertainment, Hollywood, etc., have sold their souls? Now I realize it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to hell. So what does it ultimately mean? I mean, it does mean they're going to hell, but it's just that your concept of what you're calling hell is not what you've been given, okay? When we say hell, we're talking about the lower vibrations and where you're trapped and you're not allowed to experience the higher realms or be able to, continue your existence and experience higher realms and dimensions, right? When we say sold their souls, they basically, for material wealth, for riches, and later on, a lot of this now has been exposed where they don't have a soul anymore. So they act and behave more like demons and beasts and ghouls, yeah? They pay the price later because the soul is sold where they can collect it, because your soul is what you need to be able to travel to the higher realms, and without it you're quarantined or limited here. And some beings, they just roam around as disembodied soul, as these demonic spirits that we're talking about, and they possess people and they have to live through the living because they're literally no longer able to experience the things that they want. So they still have desires, but that is what we call the burning. So you have to burn out these desires, but you're not going to be able to, because, like, for example, if you were somebody that was greedy and now you want to experience having that, you're gonna maybe see food or you can't have it, that burning is like, it's a constant, and like you're being antagonized, and it's the same for many other things. So yeah, people do lose their souls because the soul is an actual, it's tangible. It has a weight, it has a vibration. They kind of show you this in movies like The Matrix, where they were using humans as human batteries. It's a similar process where the soul can be taken, but most people don't realize they're only gonna collect it once you're crossing over, so you can live and have all the material things and live as if you think this is the end, but then when it gets to that point where you're on you're unalive, then that's when they come to collect, and at that point it's too late because you sold it for riches. And the Bible says, what profits a man to gain the whole world but to lose their soul? You see, so that's something that is true. But hell, not to the place like an actual physical place where they tell you there's the devil's there with a pitchfork and giving you all that, but they're giving you a description of hell in its real sense, in terms of the burning and what you go through, and the lower abodes that you may experience all these ghouls and demons and the things that they do talk about. There's a book we have called What and Where is Hell that goes into more detail. Okay, let's keep going. Crollo L. Rahubat Moisa, I have a question about the chief. Do you know how much longer we could be waiting? After the video his son put out, it brought tears of joy, and I'm just...
Yeah, how are you doing? Roll back.
Rahubat.
Bro.
Rahubat.
Yeah. I'm wait. I just called. I'm waiting if I could speak to Saken. This is Kaiser speaking.
You are speaking with Saken. I'm here, Rahubat. Who's calling? What's your name?
Tua, yes, this is it's Kaiser. It's Kaiser.
Oh, Kaiser.
Calling.
Yes.
How you doing? Rahubat again.
Rahubat. It's been a while. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing good. Having just a regular, day off. Today, school is closed because it's election day. So I'm just relaxing, and I have a few things I want to share and just talk to you about.
Tua, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, yeah. So Sakem, one question is, I noticed that I wonder for people like what it is. I noticed the table. I wanted to know what does that table represent? It's like two pyramids,
Oh,
um,
I got
stacked
you.
on top of each other. So it's
Yeah,
very curious, and it looks like, yeah. I
I
just
got
wanted
you.
to go in and on that.
All right, let me
Um,
try and give you some on that. So it's a symbol of as above, so below. So you got one
yeah.
pyramid that way, and you got another pyramid going that way, yeah? It's
Yes.
also a representation of the hourglass. If you do you know what an hourglass is? Hourglass
Yeah,
looks
like sands go down in
right,
time. Like you can
exactly.
measure time with it.
Yes. Trying to draw it. Yes. And it's basically it's there's a lot to it, but it's talking about the time as in when you have the hourglass, the sand is at the top, and by the time the sand or whatever drifts down, then it's time. It's telling you that the end of time and a new beginning. So as above, so below, meaning that
Oh,
heaven is coming down to earth. Because if you read the Lord's Prayer, it says, let me stand over this side. It says the last prayer when the disciples asked Jesus how would they know about the coming, he said, and how to pray. He said, pray in this manner, and he said, "Our Father who is in heaven, holy be thy name, holy be thy name, thy kingdom come to earth as it is in heaven." Yeah, so it's talking about this kingdom coming down. And if you read the books of Revelations, it talks about the crystal city. Read the whole of Revelations chapter 21, and you as you read through
yeah.
Revelations chapter 18, verse 2 is talking about this new world coming, and that Babylon the Great is going to fall, and he's telling people come out of her, right? And Babylon the Great is referring to the new Babylon, because you had Babylon in the olden Babylonian Empire. So the new Babylon is what people are calling America today. And when you start to read the books of Revelation, it talks about the beast. So we've got here Leviathan, which deals with the beast. We talk about how this kingdom, this empire is going to fall. So yeah, this is representative of the hourglass. It's representative of the two pyramids, as above, so below, and the cross coming down, and the new cycle, where this new 24,000 year cycle, that's what we're really saying when we're saying that the time has run out. So it ran out in the year 2000, the end of the 6,000 year moon cycle, the end of the devil's rule. And now it's about, people can say, well, I'm looking around and I'm still seeing what's going on, but this is falling. The empire is falling. And you start to look at like the Empire Strikes Back in terms of movies like Star Trek. And do you remember there was a movie called V as well?
Okay, I'll check
Yeah,
it out.
check it out. Yeah,
V.
it talks about these. They say it was victory, but it was really talking about these reptilian beings that came down. There's so much to this. It's also a representation of the Z, which is a path that the 144,000 or the righteous ones that are chosen will, trying to find another color, that will walk that path, right? And this is the path on the craft where you can get electrocuted.
Oh, I see it's a Z.
Yeah,
That's two period make a Z too.
exactly. So
Wow.
that's what I'm saying. There's so much to this
I
whole
know.
symbol and breakdown. The Z or Z also represent zeta. Yeah, when you're dealing with the zeta reticular, this is, and it also represents what I said before, the 666 zigzag zig, and it
Yeah.
ties into the Zion. When you say Zion, you may have heard of the learned elders of Zion. This Zion relates to the being known as Zuen. This is the same being that we're talking about when we're saying Satan. And this ties in, the Z also looks like a S. Yeah? Because you're dealing with this, they say the serpent, or in the Bible they call him the serpent, but it's really dealing with the reptilian, these beings from the Zeta.
Zeta Reticuli?
Yes.
From the star system?
Exactly.
Or the Draco star system?
Yeah, Draco again, when you say Draco, because the serpent ties into the dragon. Yeah, that's why I mentioned earlier on when I said that Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels. That dragon is actually draconian, and it's a son of draconian. These are those beings, and it ties into Dracula, because when you see, what does Dracula do? Dracula is a being that can't take the sun, and he comes out at night to prey and suck the blood of victims. Oh yeah.
But he can't survive on blood, or he can't. Yeah. They can't live without the.
Right. Without the blood, and that's where you're dealing with the vampires. When I said the V, because you're looking at vampire. The Empire Strikes Back. Vampire.
Wow, man.
There's so much. There's just so much that the master teacher, Pan the Babylonian, has taught us. But yeah, it's dealing with a being that can't take the sun. And as I said, we've come to the new cycle or sun cycle. And the rays of the sun, they call it global warming.
You know what that makes me think of? Miss Sophia Stewart. She wrote the books about the Matrix.
Yes.
And she's really smart. She's amazing. She said that the natural people, we bleed red blood.
Yeah.
And anything natural is red. And then she said the machines, they have black. They're not alive. They're like oil from a car.
Right.
So she made me think about.
Sorry, go ahead.
Is it any way that Miss Sophia Stewart met Pana Babylon? Because she's amazing, and she also said that beings that are not natural are gonna get burnt from the sun. She says it's spontaneous combustion.
That's
Could you
right.
go on that?
Yeah, definitely.
I watched her interview.
If you watch the movie, you know the Terminator is part of her writings as well. And the Matrix is related to that. So in the Matrix, if you really watch it, the first one anyway, if you look at Neo, they use religion. If you really look at it, they were using religion to really try to reinforce the spell. Because Trinity, look at the word like Trinity. Yeah, Trinity, which is obviously in religion. You got Neo, who is supposed to be what? The one?
One, Neo.
Yeah. But it is a story about what? Being unplugged from the Matrix. And it shows you how the new system, because the Terminator ties into that, because as I said, now you're talking about AI, right? And the future of AI taking over the world. And now today, that's the biggest threat that everyone's talking about. Even, Elon Musk and people, they're saying that AI is the threat that's going to bring about this machines taking over the world and controlling everything. Because machines are getting to the point where now they are actually, everyone's excited about AI, but AI is again an alien technology. It was actually given to the planet by aliens, but they know that it's going to get to a point where they're going to take over or control. So these movies like The Matrix, Terminator, by her, they're giving you information about what's taking place right now.
Oh, okay, but yeah, Tua. But the other question was, do you know if Miss Sophia Stewart has any connection to Pana Babylon? Like, has she met or spoken to?
Oh, not directly that I know of, but beings are able to influence, if I can use that word, or telepathically influence beings. So when people write, they will say things like they had inspiration. But yeah, it's a day and time where information has to be exposed, and it may be done through movies, it may be done through various, exposures, sightings. A lot of things are coming out. So I don't know personally if she's ever
Okay.
met him or has any connection with him. No, I've lost the
Mostly she says that, okay, because I think she's a real life, like the character, the Oracle is based off her, because she's too smart, man. But she says she got it from her ancestors, and
Yeah.
she just wrote those books. And
Tour.
she wrote about UFO technology. The government
Thank you.
studied her. She's way advanced. So that's why I say
Yeah,
that. Like,
I mean, if you
I'd want to just get more info.
tour. I mean, a lot of the books that Parna Babianun put out, like The Man from Planet Risk, goes into a lot of what she actually wrote about. Yeah, but I mean, was there any other questions you have? Because I do have a few more to go through in the chat.
Well, yeah, I really appreciate that. That's around it. If I could mention a book I've been reading that I would recommend everyone check out, The Sacred Book of the Chosen by B. Dell. I feel like that's another good read.
Okay.
Just the average person would love that book. If you know, I sent you a text about the picture. But that's it, man. I'm gonna enjoy my evening.
Ciao,
Man,
ta.
thank you for the
No
zigzags.
problem.
What about Yahuwah or Yahuda? What is the Yahuwah is? We talk about, sometimes you pray to Yahuwah or Yahuwah
Yeah,
Shai.
I mean, again,
Or they talk about
that's
those beings with the crystals on their chest.
right. That's what I'm saying. It again, it depends where you're getting the source of that information. But the word Yahuwah is what's been mistranslated as Jehovah, but you have beings called the Jehovians or the Yahwehians, who are actually disagreeable beings. So that's why religion sometimes, or people that are using terms and words that, we'd have to know, okay, like, where's that coming from? Is it the Holy Tablets? Is it someone else's teachings? But,
I think it's Christian. I don't know, like, I forgot what it was, but whenever you say, like, you're praying to,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
you
These
say
are
that word,
actually,
Yahuwah.
yeah,
And
these
then
are actually
I don't know how you
beings.
spell it. If you can spell it
Oh, right.
to
But what
find
I'm
out what does it
saying is,
mean.
these are actual beings that your people are calling extraterrestrial beings. But when we say Yahuwah, right, like I said, you got, let me get a better pen. You've got, in the language, right, where you get the word Jah, this is where the word even the Rastafarians pick up as Jah, but it's Jah.
Yahuwa.
Yeah, but they say Jehovah, right? But the Y, the J, doesn't exist. So it's really Yah, Hu, Wa. But what I'm saying is, because there's a lot of distortion in evil being made fair seeming, they will give you this Yahuwah, Yah,
Jehovah.
you're saying oh, yeah, Hua. And that Hua, if you remember, or if you've ever seen the symbol, let me make some space so I can actually do it. Yeah, the symbol of Hua is this symbol here, which is really universal love, right? That's the symbol of universal love in every single language. That's what Hua, this is the Hua sign, or the Hua symbol. When you look at Hu, this is again talking about he who he is. That's why they translate it in the Bible as he who he is, because they didn't know who that was, right? He who he is. But when you look at
Who he is.
yeah, but they didn't know who that was.
That means
That's the master teacher, who he is, right? Or we say in ancient Egypt, who was the creative force of will. So this is the being, that's the symbol that's coming with this universal love, or we say Ashuk, okay? Even when you look at He, that ties into helium, because when I read before about he's coming with the sun, oh, I've already got it here, sun cycle, the sun of righteousness. That
Righteousness
son,
with healing in his wings, right?
there you
That's
go.
Baba. So talking about Pana Babylon.
That's who we're talking
Talk
about.
about
So when they
Baba,
say he
right?
who he is, even like
Tower Tech,
when
bro.
they said that in the Bible, his name is holy, and people shouldn't use his name. What they started to do is Hashem in Hebrew, right? Hashem, which means that's why I'm saying that when people are reading the Bible and they don't know that these words are there, Hashem really translates as what? The name. That's all. That's what Hashem means, the name. But they still don't know. So then, this he who he is actually became Yahweh, right? Because if you look at Yahweh, I'm trying to spell the tetragram where you have Yah. How do you spell it? Yahweh.
Yahweh.
I'm doing. Was it again?
YAH.
Yeah, I think you got it.
I think A.
Say it
I'm
again.
not sure sometimes too.
Yeah, YHWH. That's it. Thank you. But when you really look at that, you're saying who he. That's what became, because they didn't know the name, they just said the name or Hashem or oh he who he is, but they don't know who we're talking about. But now, as I'm saying, it's being clarified and broken down. When the master teacher came with that Hua symbol, it's dealing with Hu or helium, which deals with the sun, tying into the sun cycle, the sun of righteousness. You see?
Right, the sun, the real
The
source of all life.
real
Right.
black Messiah, the savior that people have been waiting for and expecting, but in religion, they turn it into Jesus or any other character that is their one.
Exactly right. Every
The
time I ask them,
Antichrist,
they say
basically.
it's God and Jesus when it's Yahweh.
Yes.
And then I wanted to thank you for that answer, Sakem. It clears up a lot.
It's your question that brought
Because
that answer out, and it's great because these are the types of knowledge that we need to get out that people are not aware of. But yeah, Pana Babyanun is here, and he's that being coming with that healing, the healing we need right now. You follow? All right.
Tower Tech, brother. I had that good feeling about that. And then it came to me. Glad I asked you that, Sakem. So
Yeah.
appreciate love, and keep
love.
on doing the good works. It's being seen. Your ancestors are proud of you. I'm proud of you. And I hope you're proud of me too.
It's all by way of the
I'm
master
learning.
teacher. We're proud of everyone who's tuning in, who's sharing the knowledge. You ain't mad, you ain't crazy. This is what they would like you to think, because that's how the spell is put over the people on the planet, and now things are being clear and people are waking up. And remember that the master teacher has been doing this officially since 1970, because that was where the first half hour, again tying into your previous question about this. So this relates to the first half hour, right, which is from 1970 to the year 2000, yeah, which is 2000 AD. And then that first half hour, time's run out, and now we're basically into from the year 2000 to the year 2030, yeah, the end of the world as you know it. This is what is happening right now, but a lot of things are taking place and happening, and you have to be in tune. You have to wake up and break away from that spell of 6,000 years before the truth came. All right? Cool. Let's go on to the next question. Okay. Oh, he's still on the line. All right, Kaiser.
Yeah.
Wadu Zamal.
Wadu. Ashok.
Where were we? Yakub, we covered that. Oh yeah, Crollo. I have a question about the chief. Do you know how much longer we could be? Listen, it's gonna be like he came originally, like a thief in the night. You ain't even gonna know when, but we just keep that energy, that positivity, but he will be with us soon, very soon. But yeah, yeah. So yeah, I can't. No one's gonna just give you the date and time. No one knows but himself. But we know that we're definitely looking forward to him coming home. All right, let's keep going. How much love to all? Oh, much love to all, and how you all doing? Yep, definitely, he's coming out. Gary, sorry, not 6, 9 ether beings. You have talked about Zediot being a green 9. Oh, okay, yeah. He's a green one. He's referred to as... I knew that was kind of where you were getting at, so I'm glad you clarified that question, Gary Lodge. Yeah, so sorry, not 6, 9 ether beings. You have talked about Zediot being a green 9 ether being because he's agreeable. I guess my real question is, are there any books that can go more into the etheric beings? Yes, the man from Planet Risk. I've got it here. That goes into it. You have also many books. Like one of the most up-to-date actual facts is called the Akasha Records. Yeah, that goes into it. I'm gonna see if I can find the little piece to read a bit for you from this this scroll. This is one of the most classic scrolls that came out in the 90s, where, you know, he was teaching us this information, but a lot of people weren't really ready. And it's actually surprising that people are still, till this day, caught up in religions, and the religions are what have kept you in the dark by not teaching you or giving you the true information, having you worship and channeling your energies to these disagreeable extraterrestrial beings. Okay, this is I don't know if you can see that, but that relates to that Z I was talking about in terms of the path. But I want to read a piece. Anything on TikTok? No.
About souls, how do they collect it?
How do they collect it? Oh, you find that information, I think, in the 24 elders, and the spiritual you after the physical you dies, if I can remember correctly. It's like, okay, let me give you an example. So the body is weighed when it's alive, and they've done this in hospitals with experiments to see if there's something that keeps you alive. So what they did is weigh the body of people that were passing, you know, imminent to cross over, and took the weight. And then when they actually took their last breath, they weighed them again, and they realized the amount of energy that was missing, meaning that something has left that physical body. And many people have had what they call near-death experiences, and trying to multitask, and you know, they explain about it. But these extraterrestrials, when we say they're so advanced in terms of their technology, it's like you're literally collecting that energy once somebody crosses over. I'm trying to find that. It's definitely in here.
What is it?
It's where the master teacher is explaining about who he is, and referred to him as the green one. But yeah, Yanun, or Melchizedek, or Al-Qadir, the term that is the green one, because he's the glitch in the matrix. Because when you look at like the colors, the primary colors that you use to mix colors, green is not one of the primary colors. Oh, here you go, I found it. And yeah, so the green is a glitch in the matrix, is the essence of Yanun. All right, let me read it. It says, let me read the one before that. I read from the paragraph on page 23, yeah? In fact, let me read from the top. It says, you have been teaching undisputable facts for over 25 years. How did you manage to learn and teach so much information for the amount of years you have? All right, and it says, answer, I am a being from the 19th galaxy called Ilion. We have been coming to this planet before it had your life form on it. I manifest into this body to speak through this body. I am an entity, an etheric being. We watched the 3 other cycles of 18,000 years, right? So that's 6,000, 6,000, 6,000, right? And then the last 6,000 years adds up to give you the 24,000 years. But he's saying here, we watch the 3 other cycles of 18,000 years, 2 moons and 1 sun, which is part of your 24,000 year cycle, the equinox. The removal of the dust cloud from light to darkness, then to light again. I incarnated into this realm from time to time. My incarnation as an Ilita Mutajasid, which is an avatar, was originally in the year 1945 AD. In order to get here, I traveled by one of the smaller passenger crafts called Sham, out of a mother plane called Makaba or Nibiru. Then in 1970 AD was my time to come in flesh to start my work of breaking the spell of sleep, also called the spell of Leviathan. Leviathan. Okay? And to break the spell of Leviathan or Kingu, the moon spell or lunatic state of mind. Lunatic state of mind with the power as the sun of righteousness. Yeah? Malachi 4:2, which I mentioned earlier on. Earth astronomers thought it was a comet, which they called Bennett, that appeared on March 6, 1970 AD, 4 months before my 25th birthday, June 26, 1970 AD. The opening of the 7th seal, which marked the beginning of the Aquarian age, right? An astrophysicist named Ricardo Ciocconis sent up a satellite from Kenya, Africa in the year 1970 AD to study X-rays in the sky for 3 years, trying to map our coming. The satellite was called Uhuru, which in the African language called Swahili is freedom. Swahili is made from 2 different languages called Bantu and Arabic. That was a language created for the slave trade that occurred in Zanzibar between the Arabs, and the scientists were well aware of our coming and called us Bennett. Then this is the bit I really wanted to read for you. I, Yanun, am, well, we know now, because at the time he was teaching us Anunnaki doctrine, but he says I'm an Anunnaki, but it's really in Natharu, or what you call an extraterrestrial, extra-terra astral. Look at this, extra meaning in addition to terra, of the earth, astral, or from the stars. I am what you call an angelic being, an Elohim. This is what I was saying to the brother earlier on, when you say Anunnaki and Elohim is the same thing, but really you got the Natharu. From the 8th planet called Risk, which has 1 moon, Shishki, of its own, the galaxy, the 19th galaxy called Ilion, originally referred to as heaven, or known as Elysium. See, this is again a Greek word. There's a movie called Elysium. If you haven't seen that, watch that in Greek. Has 3 suns, 1 Shamash, 2 Utu, 3 Apsu, which means a tri-solar system with 38 moons and 19 planets, each with its own number of moons. I have incarnated here in this form to act as a human being for the sole purpose of saving the children of again, this is going back in those days. So it says the children of the Elohim Anunnaki, the Banat, which is the same word as Benet. The chosen 144,000, just as Mary of 2,000 years ago was chosen by the Most High, called Alien, which is Ali and N. Okay. But yeah, if you keep going, it will explain about him being the green one because he has that energy. And when you look at anything that's healthy on the planet, it's green in terms of nature and so forth. So that's what it ties into. But yeah, he's that being that is here, and everyone. Oh yeah, here you go. It says, let me just jump a little bit. It says, his body is like all human beings, but being was not able to handle all the light knowledge coming to the planet. The time for genetic birth was 1970 AD. I had an initiation in the late 60s and interpreted it as Al-Qadir, who was Murdoch, and it turned out I was a product of an abduction. This can be found in study of the Sufi, where it talks about the pamphlet Sons of the Green Light. You see, that's that green light that we went through, that Sons of the Green Light. All right, so that's just to tie in a little bit to what we're saying about him being the green one that has that healing energy as the Son of Righteousness. Looks like we've run out of time. Let me see if there's any other questions quickly that I want to touch on. What will cause you to really be left behind in 2030? I understand by living and acting in the image. Yep, that's part of it. 2030 is not the end of the world. It's the end of the world as you know it. Yeah. So we're not teaching doomsday and everything is going to end in the year 2030. We have to be quoted correctly. Okay. I'm just trying to see if there's any questions that Rahubat's saying. What part of our body is connected to the spiritual brain, our mind or our heart? What part of our body is connected to the spiritual brain? See, when you say spiritual brain, the brain is physical. But I get your question. The brain is physical, but within the brain you have the pineal gland. Okay, and that will be what the pineal gland is, the seat of the soul. So that's what you're talking about. But your heart is also connected because that's what you're dealing with in terms of the divine love. And then your solar plexus is the seat of your spirit. So they all are necessary, and the mind is outside of your head, but your pineal gland, when it is not calcified, when it's able to be open, connects you to the higher vibrations, and where your mind is actually, or shall I say, your mind is like a hard drive that is pulling from the mental reservoir. That's a great question to end on. So the parts of your body connected to your spiritual brain is really your pineal gland, because it's the seat of your soul, and your mind connects you to the what we call the Akasha records, or the where all the knowledge and all the where you're pulling out information from into your hard drive called your mind. And your heart is necessary to connect all of them, because that's the love. That's what that sign, universal love. Yeah. Look out for the video on that universal love. That's what that sign stands for. But unfortunately, we've run out of time. It's 9:33. We're going to have to leave it there for today. But if you didn't get your question answered, please put it in the comment section of the videos, or in the Telegram group, or come back same time, same place, and we will get those questions answered for you.